and welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Today we're talking about seasons, cycles, and power in the workplace. My name is Emma Eirene. I know a few faces, but for those of you that don't know me, a couple of hats. I am the founder of the Business Misfit Network. You kind of get the sense of what that is right there. Empowering you to be a misfit in your life and business. Very much about connect, play, collaborate through play. And I am actually a essential thematic, personal and business development coach. So I help you to strip away the good girl and create a life that turns you on. Basically means connecting you to your body. The premise is you feel damn good in your body, then you feel free in your life and business. And it works. So this is me here. I'll tell you a little bit about that in the end. So, welcome. We have got an amazing panel today. So much experience here. They're a little bit shy, so we work with lots of. See, we have friends. It's going to be a great discussion. It's going to be very much a conversation about how seasons and cycles affect us and how impactful they are. Essentially, you guys are your biggest USP. I want you walking out after this discussion really understanding that, because our seasons and cycles can actually be a superpower when we know how to work with it. And that's what today is all about. More empowered, a little bit more seen, heard, understood, I hope as well. And I'm feeling really damn good from this conversation. So, welcome, my lovely panelists. What I'm going to do is I am going to hand the mic over to them, let them introduce themselves, and then we're going to get going on the discussion.
Hello, so my name is Lauren Chiren, and I'm a very accidental CEO. I left my job in my early 40s, believing I had early onset dementia. I was so good at travel, like on medical leaves. And 3 months later, I discovered that I had just been through menopause at 37. So, lo and behold, I went out to just investigate whether anyone else had gone through this crazy kind of experience, or was it just crazy old me? And discovered that there were 1.2 billion people in the world that had gone through it and were going through it. So yeah, I think the rest will come out as we chat. So Lauren Chiren will move to the stage.
Thank you. I'm Emma Eirene. I am a radio presenter for the local BCFM, which is Bristol Community Radio. Prior to that, I hate doing these, so I feel like I'm learning from Trumpo. I am an award-winning model. I've done extra work, and I have been, I guess, the bad girl pageantry, referencing feathers for the plus-size women. And last year, I came back from Miami with the Miss World International title.
How do we follow this game? So I'm Rhian, I'm 57. I am not here as a professional. I have been invited I'm on TikTok. And on TikTok, I try to empower other women through positivity and through my local clothing. And my full account is about empowering other women.
Hi everybody, I've got the dog. My name's Fiona, Ghering, and I'm founder of Midpointers for Women. I come from a male-dominated background, work environment, and I understand it's really important to help men understand menopause and midlife, because it'll impact them as much as it'll impact us.
Yeah. See what I mean? Awesome. I'm so excited about today's discussion. And I was having a conversation this morning about how amazing it feels to be in such a big, powerful group of women. Like, we don't do that enough. So what an amazing opportunity today is, because we do live in quite a masculine, dominated world, and we try and operate in that way. We don't work that way, and that's what today's about. So Emma, I'm going to come to you first with her echoing some amazing experience, which is just incredible. So self-worth and self-image have such a massive impact, as we all know, right? The way we think about ourselves. It plays a really important role in knowing and owning your power. So from your experience, because you have just done so incredibly well and so many amazing things in your life, what was the thing that had that biggest impact on your own body positivity and the way that you hold yourself within your own?
So, I'm a completely different person now to what I was in 2016. My marriage had come to an end. I literally lived in black baggy hoodies, jogging bottoms, hair up in a mum bun. I actually was in quite a dark place. I took all the mirrors down in my house because I did not want to see my reflection. I had no pictures up. And one day, kids were in bed, and I was scrolling through social media, as you do. And I just had a moment where I was just like, fuck this shit.
Sorry, what did you say? Say that.
Fuck this shit. I'm tired of feeling like this. Why should I be feeling like this when so-and-so is out doing this and that? And I came across an ad in social media for a plus-size beauty pageant. My background is in football, in rugby, in sports. I've never worn heels in my life. So I just thought, do you know what, you only live once, I'm going to go for it. So I applied, and a few weeks later, I got given the Miss Bristol title to represent Bristol at the national finals. Again, not a clue in what I was doing. I thought, oh, I'll just go and have some fun. But what drew me to it was behind the scenes in modern day pageants, there is a lot of workshops, body positivity, join a sisterhood. It's not what you see in the films like this congeniality and toddlers and tiaras. It's completely different. I remember being stood on the stage and my knees were literally knocking together, and there was all these beautiful women. I was, what am I doing? I felt completely out of my depth. I just completely winged it, if I'm honest with you, winged the interview, and then it came to swim around. I hid under a sarong, and then I got to the end of the stage, and I just had a moment. I thought, you know what? I don't know what I'm doing. Just whip it off, swing it. Honestly, little did I know that I actually finished first runner-up, so second place, and I got to go to international to represent England at this international curve. That's when things got serious then. I was like, okay, this is a thing, like people do this. And I won this international curve back in 2018, and I was like, hang on a minute, like, this is amazing, but it's a pageant specifically for plus size women, so people size 14 and above. And I was like, why are we in our own pageant? Like, why are we not out there in all the mainstream pageants? So, I thought, again, fuck this shit. Excuse the language. And I took my plus size body, entered a mainstream pageant in 2019, and that's when I won my first crown as a plus size woman against all very stereotypical kind of bodies that we associate with the definition of beauty. That's when things then, I guess, stepped up another gear, and I thought, okay, I'm onto something here. So then I started kind of campaigns, I started workshops, and then it just kind of took off from there. I could not understand for the life of me why I was not seeing bodies of all different shapes, all different sizes in mainstream pageantry. So, well, from there, it just kind of exploded really. I went on to then compete, where did I go from Paragon? I went to 2022, I did Miss Great Britain, and I was the first openly LGBTQ plus woman in 77 years to step on the stage. And that was in 2022, so I was like, what is going on here? So I found out that the whole industry was just completely like historic back in the times. But the stories that women were coming out with, the messages that I was getting, I honestly had no idea that I was inspiring other women to be like, actually, like, we do belong on that stage, like, we do belong in society. I then looked further into body positivity, the body image movement that's out there, for example. Tamsin, of course, does a lot of work around body positivity. And I just find myself then deep diving into this whole industry and the fact that the beauty industry is there to make us aware of our flaws and to sell us products to make us beautiful when we already are. It goes into so much stuff. I kind of then, my daughter at the time was 3 years old. She was talking about not eating breakfast because someone said to her in school, in nursery, sorry, that she had breakfast and she put on weight. And I realised that actually this is a massive, massive problem. And again, bringing it into the workplace, there are so many stereotypical versions of what women should dress like, what they should look like. I worked in a male-dominated industry. I actually drove a forklift for a living for about 2 years. And they just expected you to have like a certain standard and then a certain kind of definition of beauty, or you couldn't do this and you couldn't do that. So in terms of self-esteem and body positivity, it's really realising actually that every person on this planet is unique. Every person has a different shape and size. We are all unique, and that uniqueness is what makes every single person on this planet beautiful. And oh, thank you. I can go on all day. But the main, what should I say? The main, I guess, issues that I find is that people, a lot of people, we all do it, like, we doubt ourselves, and we doubt our self-worth, and we, what's the word I'm looking for? We're not kind to ourselves. And as soon as I put myself in an environment with other like-minded women, like today, but in the kind of beauty world and in the fashion world, then I find that actually we, that's what I'm trying to put now, but
I think I resonate so much with what you're saying. So my eldest daughter, I've got 3. My eldest is coming up to 12 and she watches me. And I realised a few years ago that how I'm being is how she's going to end up being. And I think that is quite a good inspiration to use on this path. And I think some of the biggest takeaways that I got from you, and actually my favourite one, because it's one of mine too, is fuck it. Fuck it. Like that point of if you're in doubt, if you're on that precipice, which we are so often, right? We're like, should I fucking do it? Like that is the biggest thing, and I think that was game changing for you. Like listening to your story is so inspirational, and particularly where you were and what you were doing and everything around you. That takes some epic courage.
It's just like with the workshop we were just doing in here about kind of your inner queen and stepping into your queen, like everybody is capable of doing that. It really is the thing. And it's almost kind of, when I started pageantry, you know, the whole fake it till you make it, like I kind of was like, yes, I'm a pageant girl, I can do this. I felt completely out of my depth, did not know what I was doing, but then you step into it, and then you start to own it then, and things then change. Like it's very, very powerful.
It is, yeah. And I just think taking that fuck it attitude with you today.
That's
really powerful, because so many we find ourselves on the edge.
Yeah. If you want to do it, do it. If you want to wear something, wear it. If you want to eat a cake, eat a fucking cake.
And actually, interestingly, yeah, exactly that. And interestingly, this is the exact reason why I started the Business Biscuit Network, because I didn't quite 15. So that other ones. So I decided to create a community of misfits where we can be who we want, entirely our authentic self, and it's game changing.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. So, yeah, we're going to come to you. I know that you are an advocate for women understanding their body. Yeah. And when we are working as women within cycle So what I would like to ask you is, what had the biggest impact with you understanding your body and learning to work with that?
Thank you. So I think working in a male environment, obviously you're the same. And I think a lot of us will work in that male environment, and for me, the pressure to conform and stay powerful and feel that I'm not weak in the male-dominated environment was really, for me, really important. And the fact that I felt weak when I started going through menopause because I was losing my mind, as we've spoken about, and bleeding to death and not being able to tell anybody because I was ashamed of what was happening to my body. And women in the same environment were powerful women, so they couldn't possibly be going through what I was going through. And actually, funny enough, we were all going through the same sort of thing at the same sort of time. And it wasn't until we actually started talking about it, and I was brave enough to, in my environment, to actually say, look, this is actually happening to me, and telling the men that this was happening, and it turned out their wives and their girlfriends and their work colleagues were also going through the same thing, or similar, and their journey is different, and the impact that had. So understanding my own body and starting to try and understand what was happening, although it was always changing, helping other people understand that, you know what, it's a journey, it's no one size fits all, and in a male environment, it's really important for everybody to understand what's going on, because for me, that was the powerful thing, knowledge, understanding, and then empathising with other people who were going through it, whereas in a male environment, unfortunately, there was very little empathy, so trying to change that going forward for me.
That is quite a mission. And I also think, like, part of what we can play in that is communicating, that, isn't it? Like, you like the saying, there's a lot of courage up here, which I'm absolutely loving. And I think that's it, isn't it? Like, having the courage to voice that and say, hang on a minute, this is how we are. This is how, like, and people learn to adjust that. And the more we do that, the more we voice it, essentially, get your damn voice there. Fuck it, speak up about it. I love it, it's like key points. Thank you so much. Okay, Lauren, I'm going to come to you. Now, you specialise with helping women to navigate menopause. Yeah. And what I would like to know really is, in your experience, okay, when it comes to learning what being well means, because I know that part of what you do is about being well in who you are, especially when going through changes, because we can feel like we're mad, particularly menopause. What's your biggest advice there, or insight around that? Being well. Particularly going through
It's
changes.
interesting today because I've had a few different conversations with different people. So what we do is we work with large global employers to help them become menstruation, menopause savvy and supportive. What that means is looking at everything from, when they're doing job design, person spec, all the way through recruitment and onboarding, right the way through the colleague journey to exit, to look to see where are the pinch points, where someone's cycle, whatever stage they are at, whether they're just on cycles, they're with the menstrual cycle, whether they've got endometriosis, PMDD, fibroids, other issues going on, whether they maybe have fertility challenges, pregnancy issues, whatever it is, all the way through to menopause and postmenopause. And then we train people to become menopause coaches, menopause champions, and menopause mentors, that's the other one. But what goes through all of that is very much, I'm just going to replicate what's already been said, it's that stripping away what we think society wants us to be, look, feel, do, behave. And I was utterly clueless. I was wearing the highest heels, smartest suits. The hair was done, the makeup was done, the nails were on. I got voted the best dressed senior leader on my floor in the building that I worked in financial services. There weren't very many women, it wasn't our competition. But the point I'm making is that when I was beginning to notice my self-esteem, my self-confidence, my going through the floor, and my anxiety going through the roof, I would get spray tan. Because what if I backed under my eyes, or what if my eyes weren't sparkling? If you've got a tan, then it makes everything look a bit better, doesn't it? that's what was in my head. So I was masking all the time. I was constantly putting on this corporate mask, day in, day out, constantly thinking, if I try to look at the outside, the left end was going to be able to see what's going on the inside. Fast forward 10 years. I'm coming to an event. The old me would have had on a suit or a dress or something smart, a pair of heels, and I'd been all made up again. That doesn't make me feel comfortable anymore. I'm comfortable in a hoodie, sweatpants and trainers, and that's how I show up. So there will be times when I'm on stage at certain events where I will be dressed up because of the occasion, or it feels right for me on that day. So for me, it's about stripping back and doing what truly helps you feel good on the inside. And the challenge is that we're so conditioned when we're growing up to please other people and to do the right thing and to fit in. But the reality is we were born to stand out. And so for me, it's about stripping back all those layers and trying to figure out what the heck it is that makes you really feel joy. Because I think we're really lacking joy in our life, and just feel guilty about even trying to find that anymore. So yeah, just stripping back the layers.
Stripping away the good thing. I want you all looking out there going, fuck the good thing! Plain laugh, yeah, I resonate so much with what you do and what you say. I think that is, actually the thing that I always say is the most important work you can ever do is to know yourself. And essentially that's what you're saying, know yourself, which means sometimes, yeah, you're going to want to, dress up, and sometimes you're going to want to turn up what it is. And both ways is absolutely fine. Our worth does not change, regardless of how we show up. And that's what I love about what you do in your research, so thank you so much. So, yeah, I absolutely love what you say, and I think actually this is really great going from this to what you do, because there's a lot of overlaps, because I know that you work a lot around confidence. And what is it you put? An advocate of aging naturally with a dose of glamour, which I love, and you embody that so well and beautifully. So what I'd like to ask is, what, for you, in your experience, is one of the most important things that a woman can do to feel confident and powerful, even when going through these changes that we're talking about?
I think for me, learning to know yourself is probably one of the biggest things that you can do. I spent from the age of 8, probably up until my early 50s, absolutely hating the way I looked. I've grown up with eating disorders, I've had no self-esteem, no confidence, and I know the people that I talk to through TikTok and the experience that I've actually had through TikTok, people are absolutely amazed when I say that I've had no confidence in my life, and it's literally something that I learned in my early 50s. And I can honestly say it's a revelation. When you can be at peace with who you are, whether it be your physical appearance, whether it be who you are inside, it is a key to gaining confidence. Absolutely. Parts of me that I've hated that have held me back in life, I can now say, that's part of me, and it doesn't change who I am, and it doesn't stop other people liking you, or the things that I've hated about myself. Somebody else has said, oh, you've got great legs. Now I've hated my legs since the age of 8, and when I tell you that I wouldn't wear trousers, I'd never wear shorts, I wouldn't wear swimsuit. If I was on the beach with my children, I'd have to get out and put my clothes back on if I wanted to play with them. So it's held me back all my life, up until my early 50s. So if you can learn to love yourself, ladies, it is massive. It really is. And it's really powerful.
Can I ask a question? Is that okay? Yeah. There is time for questions at the end as well, but yes, if it alludes to this point.
Yeah, I was just wondering what changed in your 50s that actually made you...
It was a coffee with a friend, a very dear friend, and I turned up wearing all black and looking really drab, and she was in a couple of clothes, and she said to me, Rhian, you've got to watch Trinny Woodall. And I was like, oh. She said, no, she said, go and watch Trinny Woodall, she said, because her feeling about colour and the confidence and positivity it gives you. So I literally went home, and over the next 3 months, I binge watched every session. She has a series called Closet Confessions. And she might one week she might be talking about the colour yellow, and the other week she might be talking about how to dress for occasion. And I literally, it just changed my life. And I know that sounds really dramatic, but I went from somebody that just wanted to be a wallflower and not to be noticed. And I started to express myself through colourful clothes. I literally, within about 8 months, I only had one pair of black trousers left in my wardrobe, and I had to keep them for emergency funerals. everything else was colour. So yeah, that's what it did. It really changed how I felt about myself, and it gave me the confidence to express myself through my clothes. And it really was, it just made such a difference. It's just bizarre, but that's just what did it.
Thank you. I'm just envisioning, damn it, someone's dying on there. Can you imagine? Do you know what? There is so much in that. So I'm actually colour therapy trained, and it massively makes a difference to your mood. You could literally pick out, and you know, there's certain things around like colour green, you can have that in any room, and it will make you feel good, and it's really good for healing. Orange and red's obviously confidence. If you look into it, there is so much in it. And learning what you feel good in. Again, isn't it funny? Like there's a kind of overlap thing here. Like learn you, and that's kind of the key to everything. So
yeah, and I always, when you say about red then, if I was ever in a situation where I felt uncomfortable, where I was putting myself out there and I was a little bit nervous, it would be a red pair of trousers and something, because that was my colour that made me feel assertive. And I think a lot of people, like you just said, that the power of colour therapy is incredible, because once you start looking into it, it's just for so many benefits. And I think, you know, the number of times that you put something on and you feel really good, and you don't actually realise what makes you feel good that day. And it could just be you put your favourite dress on, it could be the colour of your t-shirt. You know, it is honestly, there is so much power behind that.
I literally had this week. I was at a big event in London. Like total shit. It was like absolutely hanging. You know, like the end of your cycle. And I don't want to go anywhere. I'm a duvet. But I can't. You pay a lot of money to go to these events, right? And literally put on the red dress. Everything changed. I was like,
Yeah.
That's me. I remember. It does. It makes such a big difference. And again, it's about learning. Like red's one of my favourite colours, and so it does that. So, thank you. Fiona, we're going to come back to you. Relationships. Relationships are a huge part of our lives, right? Life literally is relationships. Relationships with ourselves, first and foremost. Relationships with our partners, relationships with our work, relationships with our colleagues. Like it goes on and on. Relationships with our children. Yeah. I know that what you do is to help educate as well. So what I'd like to ask you is, what would you say can help women the most to stand in their power in relationships, particularly when going through changes and so on?
I am going to start off by saying I'm in the funeral black. Oh, thank you. I have a yellow jumper in the boot in case I walked into the room and thought I cannot do black, so I went and had the backup, and we actually spoke. We sat next to each other, and she's all in white or cream or off-white, whatever that's called, this colour, and I've gone for the all black. So relationships can be massively impacted whilst we're going through our own changes. That can be life changes, work, personal life, your impact with your children, the fact that when we're going through, obviously I consider around perimenopause, postmenopause, that whole window of journey. Divorce rates are really high, and I keep asking, why is that the case? Is it because you've fallen out of love with yourself? Is it the fact you've fallen out of love with your partner? I'm lucky enough to be with my partner, female partner, for 21 years. She puts up with a lot, but it takes work, and it's, you know, understanding what you're going through. It's no easier having a female partner, I can tell you right now, because she's 5 years younger than me, and I've turned 50 this year. And you know, realistically, understanding yourself, loving yourself, giving yourself a little bit of praise, because I think we are our biggest problem sometimes. We're so negative towards ourselves, and it's sometimes we're deaf to what people say to us. Even when it's not just about your clothing, it could be anything. We are that that imposter syndrome, etc., has such an impact on relationship with ourselves. And I think it starts with us, and then it progresses on to whoever you live with, whether it's your kids, whether it's your partner, whether it's your work colleagues. It's all a relationship. And I think understanding where you can take that relationship. You know, do you need to be more loving? Do you need to be more tactile? Do you need to make love more? Who knows?
Yes. The answer's always
yes. But it's. I have lots of men say to me, "Well, I haven't had sex for over a year. She doesn't want me anymore. She doesn't love me anymore." And I have women in my program as part of my business saying to me, "I don't know how to love myself anymore," because their body shapes change. You know, 70 to 80% of women will put on weight during their menopause journey. Through one reason or another, that might be that your metabolism is slowing down, it might be that you're not prioritising exercise, you might be eating more than you need to. But equally, be happy with yourself, and if you want to make changes, make them for you, not for the person you live with, or who you work for, and having to wear what you need to wear. I turned up not knowing whether I was going to be in a dress, absolutely no way, but I do own some. But I do have high heels, but I break my neck and I look like a drag queen, which is fantastic. But it's not for me for today, it's about feeling comfortable, and it's about owning yourself. And I think the impact that has on a relationship, if I'm like shying away from everything, how do I expect my partner to pick me up? That can be draining. And so it's about talking, communicating with each other. You know, it's being tactile doesn't necessarily end up in the bedroom. This is what I say to some of the guys I talk to, because realistically, they don't know. And if you don't know, how on earth are they meant to know? And it's try and save your marriage, try and save your pension, try and save your relationships at work through empowering them, as in other people, but also just loving yourself more. And I don't mean egotistically loving yourself. It's just actually being happy, and if you're not happy, make changes. The only person that can make those changes is you, but make sure you're doing it for yourself because of the impact that relationship will have. Again, whether it's a loving relationship or a work relationship, it doesn't matter.
I resonate with so much of that. My pleasure code framework, which I use, the first part of that is touch. And that is, you know, people would automatically assume that's to do with other people. It's not how we treat ourselves. It's what you put on your body every day. What feels good, which is so much of what this conversation has been about, making ourselves feel good. And the thing is, work a lot with the feminine energy. The nature of the feminine is to want to give. We're good at it, right? We want to give, but the problem is we often forget to give to ourselves first. So I resonate so much with that, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. So actually, if you want everything to improve in your life, all those relationships, which is, as I said at the beginning, essentially what life is, you've got to give that to yourself first. So I really love that and really resonate with what you're saying. Coming back to you. I know that you have been through a lot of difficult times.
Yeah.
And I don't know, raise your hands, I'm going to start. Who's going through a pretty fucking hard time? Yeah, okay, there's a few of us. So what I would love really is your one biggest piece of advice that can help those of us that are going through a pretty tough time to navigate that and to get through it.
So to give a little bit of background, I really should write a book. I have experienced homelessness. I am a survivor of domestic abuse. There's so much that I've been through, I can go on. So in terms of surviving and navigating life when you're going through the worst of times, I've done over and over again. In terms the best advice, there's so much advice that I can give, but the best thing that I've ever done
is, again, linking into what everyone is saying, is self-love. It all starts with you. No one else is going to do that for you. You're not going to get that from a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a partner. You're not going to get that from an external source. It all starts with you. You really need to focus on yourself. And that's not selfish. Self-love is not selfish. Also, in terms of whatever you're going through, whatever you're trying to juggle, the bad times and the difficult times are not going to last forever, and you really need to try and remember that every day, because there are days where you just feel, oh my gosh, this is my life now, this is how it's going to be. It's some of my darkest times. I just thought, there you go, I'm now a domestic violence survivor, so that's my narrative now. I'm just going to sit in that. But in doing so, I just stayed in that narrative. I stayed in that kind of personality, if you want to call it. The best thing you can do is just, again, self-love and step outside of that. Like, you write your own story, and what happens to you in those bad times, they don't define you, they actually make you into something better.
I love that, define your own story. Yeah, this is the thing. I think we all go through so much that we never really talk about, right? So the same, mine was emotional abuse, and it impacts you and leaves scars and leaves wounds. So the more you get to choose every day who you get to be, how you get to show up, which actually leads you onto the questions you that's where our power is.
Yeah, it's really powerful when you choose yourself. And I had big issues in thinking that was selfish of me. So it's selfish for me to spend 30 minutes a day on myself, or just making myself look better or feel better, rather than spending that 30 minutes with my children. And the mum guilt I used to get from that all the time, thinking, well, that's 30 minutes of not stuff with them. However, taking care of myself is making me take care of them better. So yeah, definitely, it's not selfish. Like, love yourself.
Do you know, I actually, off the back of that, my daughter, who I mentioned already, we were having a discussion about when I decided to leave my ex-husband. And this was about a year or so, we was having a discussion of emotional turmoil. She witnessed quite a lot. And I said to her, but Daddy's happy. She's happy. And I was like, Mummy's happy. And she slapped her hands like, my God, you're happy now! But that says it all. Like, that says it all. Like, for me, my kids were one of the biggest reasons for the changing and rewriting that story. And we both individually get to be better people now. And yeah, so find your motivation. What are you doing this for? Come back to you. Love you harder than anything else.
Yeah, everything starts with you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's all about me. Thank you. So, Rhian, you are a very magnetic woman. I don't know if you'd agree well. Yes. Very magnetic woman. And I can really see that you stand in your power. And with what you do and what you're an advocate of is amazing. So, the question I have for you is about up-leveling. Up-leveling yourself, feeling confident, and particularly after kind of what we discussed here, we're all navigating so much all the time. What I would love to know is, in your experience, what is the thing, the bit of advice that helps you to show up as you so beautifully embody? Particularly when we're going through all of this. And really, what could help the women here today do exactly that? To stand up in their power. Come on,
acceptance, and that goes back again to the self-love of God as well, learning to love yourself. I think acceptance, you get to a stage in life, and I think I was always told as a young woman that when you hit middle age, you become invisible. And I don't think anybody should be invisible. And especially when you hit middle age, I think you do so much, and your body's going through a lot as well. the last thing you want is to nobody to see you. And this is what I talk about a lot. I do TikTok live 6 days a week, so I do 3 mornings and 3 evenings. And I might sit there and be doing my makeup on these lives, so I might be talking about clothes, but that's not what interests most of these ladies that join me. I might have a couple of hundred people, but I've had up to 1,000. And what brings us together is community. And so many of these women just do not like themselves. And we talk about positivity, we talk about having confidence, we talk about ways that you can gain confidence. And a lot of it comes back to self-love. I posted a video back a few months ago. It was just an outfit to get ready with me. And somebody left a comment saying, oh my God, you really love yourself. I didn't see the comment straight away. And when I eventually seen it, it was about 30 comments of all women, all in my defense, saying, and so she should. We should all love ourselves. There is nothing wrong with loving yourself. This is not saying that I'm up myself, because I'm not. But it's about actually liking the person that you are. And I think that's really important, you know. And yeah, it all comes back to self-acceptance and self-love. And if you do not know your worth, then nobody else is going to know what you're worth either, because you have always devalued yourself, you know. And we compare ourselves to other women, we compare ourselves. And I think if you are comparing yourself to somebody else using their yardstick, you're always going to come up short. You know, you've got to believe in yourself, girls. And I'm speaking from like 50 years almost of no confidence, no self-esteem. And if I can do it, you girls can do it for sure. Definitely.
So we're doing that little exercise that you do. Has everyone heard of kind guys? When you're looking at yourself in the mirror, we instantly try and pick ourselves apart. We are our own biggest critics, right? People don't see that, we're the only ones that see that. So there is a little exercise, because this is a muscle that you need to build. Like this. So looking at yourself in the mirror, and the minute you notice something negative, and then you come back and you notice, like, pick out something, like, or you know, anything. It doesn't actually matter. It's just you practicing and using that muscle.
Yeah, and what you need to do as well, because how we talk to ourselves internally has a massive impact. Because if you are constantly believing yourself, if you, like for me, if I was always, I absolutely hate my legs, I can't do this, I can't go there, I can't go that. You know, I talked myself into it all these years, and my husband says something to me a couple of years, well, it was about 4 years ago actually, and he said, Rhian, nobody else has got a problem with your legs, just you. And do you know what? It was an absolute wake-up call, because I was dumbfounded, because in my head, I think everybody else, if they see my legs, they were all going to be running away in horror. That's how I felt about it, and that's how it contained myself all around that. It's just bizarre, girls. I can't describe it. But he literally said to me, nobody else has got a problem with it. And I thought, oh, maybe not then. It is, but how you talk to yourself internally is has such a big impact on how you feel about yourself.
I was really bad at that, just to jump in. I was really, really bad at that to begin with. And so then, I don't know where the idea came from, I think I've ever seen it somewhere, but then I stuck post-it notes around the house and on the mirror, especially in the bathroom, with like positive affirmations on there. So if you're not very good at it to begin with, then yeah, post-it notes go forward.
We have one more question, because I know we're running out of time. But at the end,
I was just going to point out there's an app called I Am that does that.
oh, okay.
Oh, there we go.
Amazing. So, Lauren, final question. I know you work with a lot of a lot of people that, you know, push ourselves to the absolute limit. I don't know if anybody else does that. But we are constantly doing it, right? All the time. What I would like to know is, from your experience, what difference does it make when we actually start doing everything we have talked about today, which essentially is knowing ourselves, listening to ourselves, listening to what season we're in, what cycle we're in, where we actually are. What difference, what impact does that make to something?
I think, you know, if you boost your vitality by looking after yourself properly, when you know, it helps you increase your influence in whatever you're doing, whether that's just walking to the shop and buying something, your presence is different. Whether it's standing on stage or doing a talk, whatever it is, you know, increase your vitality, increase your influence, and that just enables you to step into your personal power. And I think that it's very easy to talk about just do this or just do that, but when you're feeling really low and really down and really flat and you don't know why, and you're, but I've got a roof over my head, or I've got a child, or I've got the things that, you know, mean that I shouldn't be feeling bad, or I've got some of the things, and then you're like, well, I shouldn't be feeling down, I shouldn't be feeling bad, I shouldn't have these worries, so I don't allow myself, I don't afford myself the opportunity to feel low or flat or down. And sometimes I think we can be too hard on ourselves. I think that also we have to understand that as people who are cycling at birth, we have hormonal fluctuations and changes. And that means that as our estrogen levels are fluctuating and changing from month to month, and then later in life when they take a bit of a roller coaster for some of us, these hormonal changes are actually having an impact on how we think, how we feel, and how we behave. So when you put everything together and you understand how your body works, one of the things I just wanted to mention, because I think it's really important, is that if you're quite introverted or you've got a really low estrogen level and it's leaving you feeling quite withdrawn and wanting not to interact with other people quite so much, you start telling yourself the stories that are going round in your head and you start believing them. And if you're not interacting with other people, you're not having conversations with other people, you've got no one to challenge those stories that you're telling yourself. I don't want to end on a negative note, but I think this is something that's really important, that we recognise that our hormones are driving a lot of how we think, how we feel, how we behave. And I would say to anyone who doesn't have a good friend, that friend that you can phone at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and will be there for you, and if you don't, you're in good company, because the majority of people don't have that person. Less than one person. In the States, they have less than one person in contact at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. In the UK, it's less than 2 people. But there are many, many people that have no one. I have no one. And I really started believing the stories I was telling myself in my head. And for 18 months, apart from going to work looking after my son, I did not go out. I would use every excuse under the book not to. I would phone up at the last minute and say the babysitter didn't turn up. But the babysitter never been booked. So I would say to anyone who doesn't have that 2 a.m. person in your life, get hold of a chat line, force yourself to the nearest club, pick up a new hobby, even if you're doing it online, and you've not got your camera on, but find a way to connect with another human being. We're all here today. I've already spoken to people today who I know this is going to be the first social interaction we've had for a very long time, and they've been fearful about it, but they've done it, so I love them for that. But I do think there is the self-love, there is the self-care, there is all of that, but you also have to have another human being in your life that you can talk to honestly and who's willing to listen. So if you don't have that person in your life, then I do suggest that you reach out and you find some place where you can be honest and speak freely without worrying about that coming back on you in any way, shape or form. And that can be a helpline if that's where it needs to be. So not the cheeriest of notes to finish.
doesn't have that kind of community. Obviously, we do have this amazing community today, and I'm hoping we've made so many beautiful connections. But the Business District Network is launching this week in Bristol and next week in London. It's a free event, Village Hotel in Filton in Bristol. So if you want to come along, there's cards on the table. If you want to scan that, just grab a free ticket and come along. And I'd absolutely love to see you there with all the other misfits that I'm there to be. Thank you so much for being amazing listeners, and thank you, panel.